Hi crafters, Amy here, and today I'm going to use some watercolor brush markers with my stamping. So let's jump right in. To start, I'm showing you the paper that I use. This is Bristol Smooth, and this is a game changer for any of these watercolor brush type markers. This is definitely what I recommend. It's not a watercolor paper, but it can handle the water, and there's some sort of coating on it that really allows you to kind of move around the pigment. Now this particular size is awesome because you get 8 A2 size panels out of it. Now this is an older stamp set. I don't know if it's still available. I'll link it below if it is. And these are my Karin Brush Marker Pros. I do have the smaller set, and this is my Arteza water brush pen that I'm struggling to get the cap off for some reason. But these are well loved, and I use them with all of my brush markers. So here's how I'm going to make it a little bit easier for me. I have this pigment ink, I have clear embossing powder, and my embossing tool. Now here's a photo of the card that I'm going to make for you today. It really did come together quickly, and it was a fun way to kind of bust out these watercolor brush markers because, if I'm honest, I don't use them enough, but I wanted to play with them with this stamp set, which shamefully I have never used before. So I'm taking this stamp set on its maiden voyage with this adorable floral. And I'm loading it up in my MISTI, and I'm also using some of the sentiments from the stamp set. So that's always nice when you have the whole shebang in one stamp set, and it says you are amazing. So I'm going to stamp this all in this VersaFine Clair black pigment ink, but the reason I have my embossing tool from the Rabbit Hole Designs is because I'm going to coat it with that clear embossing powder. For two reasons. For one, this pigment ink takes a while to dry. And for two, it almost creates, look at me here coming at it like a lumberjack. I'm just too fierce. Look at this. I'm trying to condition the stamp and I nearly ripped the whole thing right off. I need to just calm down, okay? Anyway, so I'm stamping it with this pigment ink, and I'm going to coat it with the embossing powder because it essentially creates these little wells for you to work with the wet medium with. So when you use your watercolor brushes and you paint and you have embossing, it kind of helps you stay within the lines a little bit. So here I'm just coating it with this white embossing powder, and I'm gonna just pour it back into the jar without spilling it, yay me. And then I'm going to heat it with my heat tool. So like I said, it kind of expedites the drying process. You don't have to smudge your pigment ink, and then it also creates those nice little wells for the liquid water brushes that you're kind of playing with. So I'm just going to cook that up. You'll see it gets nice and black again, but then it's shiny. And here's a little swatch that I created. Like I said, I don't have the complete set, but I do have this nice 12-pack, which just has a nice collection of colors. And honestly, the beauty of these brushes is you can get such a variation in color with even just one marker. So I refrained from full set syndrome and did not get the entire massive collection because they're pricey. So I'm just picking 4 colors to start here. I have the pink and the red, and I'm just kind of laying down some pigment. I do have this sped up. It looks orange for some reason. It is actually red. But I'm laying it down, and then I'm coming in with my water brush, and you can see it just blends out crazy, right? And that's where this Bristol really comes in. Now, you can do it on watercolor paper, but watercolor paper tends to suck it right in because that's what it's supposed to do. But for some reason, this little coating that's on the Bristol Smooth paper, it really gives you a minute to kind of spread it around. Now, I don't end up liking the red of the flower bloom, so I end up coming back in. I'll show you how I fix that and kind of make it more to my liking. But here I get smart and kind of I'm a little bit more conservative with the pigment. It really does go so far. So if you want a nice variation from light to dark, don't bring that dark out too far. Kind of start in a very small area and play with it, and look how far I am stretching this. So if you kind of bring the pigment out too far along the area, it's really gonna not enable you to get that nice blend. So here I'm coming in with the more traditional green, and again, just kind of messily spreading that around. Now, if you want a perfect blend, you can absolutely create that, but I'm kind of messy with my coloring. I kind of like it more graphic and messy looking. For one, because that's my style, and for two, it kind of matches the design of the stamp. But you can absolutely take your time and make it more of a seamless blend with these type of markers, if that's your jam. Now, I do also have the Arteza Real Brush markers, and I do have the entire collection of those, and those work very similarly to this. So if you need something on a cheaper price point, I will link those in the video description box below. But here's where I come in with the purple. So don't rule out purple with red if you want to add some wowza to it. So I really like purple with red because it kicks up the shadow in the dimension, and it really kind of filled that void where I didn't get enough variation in color. So I did bring in that purple just to add to the red, but other than that, very simple color choices. And then here I decide I want to add something to the background. This is optional, but you can kind of spread it down. You can use it on an acrylic block. I have a glass mat, so it was really easy for me to just kind of scribble down some of the pigment, and then I'm really wetting it down with water. I don't want it to be too crazy saturated. I really just want to kind of add the illusion of a sky. You can get closer up to your stamping because you do have it embossed, and you do have a little bit of wiggle room in terms of getting up closer to your stamped image and not having it kind of bleed together. But I really just kind of wanted to come in very subtle streaks just to kind of create the illusion of a sky. So once this dries, you can heat set it carefully, but don't remelt your embossing powder. But once it dries, I did decide to run it through with this die cut edge from Altenew. It's this really cool mix and match, and it has all those little holes. So it just added kind of some unexpected visual interest into my design, and it did cut it down a little bit smaller than A2 size. And then I did just attach that to a card base of 110 pound Neenah Classic Crest Solar White. And then I decided to finish it off with some blingage. I have my liquid glue here. This is Barely Art. It has this nice fine tip here, and I'm just going to lay it down in odd numbers. So 3 and 2, you can see that's usually my jam. I like odd numbers, but I have some bigger and smaller iridescent sequins just to kind of add a little something extra to the design, because overall it is very simple. But I really feel like the whimsical design of the stamp and my kind of graphic, more messy coloring really kind of work together. And then also with the kind of handwritten feel of the scripty font. So I feel like it all really worked well together for the design and tied together nicely. And, you know, next year when I'm done struggling with those sequins, I'll show you the finished card here. Oh my goodness. Anyway, here's how it turned out. I'm really pleased with it. And yeah, you can turn this into an encouragement card, birthday card, you decide. Kind of leave the inside of the card open and create whatever kind of card you need on demand when you need it. So I hope you enjoyed this card. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, and I appreciate you watching. Have a good day. Bye.